The echo of ancient stars. The ruins stretched endlessly beneath Proxima Vii's violet sky, their crystalline spires reaching up like frozen fingers toward the dying sun. Thalia Blackwood adjusted her atmospheric suit's settings, watching as her breath created small clouds inside her helmet. The scanner in her hand pulsed with a steady rhythm, leading her deeper into the ancient city's heart. "Base, do you copy?" She spoke into her comm unit. "I'm picking up unusual energy signatures from Sector 7. Unlike anything we've seen in these ruins before." Static crackled before a response came through. "Copy that, Dr. Blackwood. Remember, you have less than 3 hours before the next radiation storm hits. Don't take any unnecessary risks." Thalia almost laughed. Unnecessary risks had led to every major discovery in her field. That's why she was here, on humanity's furthest colonized world, studying ruins that predated human civilization by millions of years. The scanner's pulse quickened as she approached a partially collapsed structure, its walls covered in scripts that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. Her research assistant, an AI construct named ECHO, projected a holographic interface beside her. "Analysis suggests the energy signature originates from approximately 20 meters below your current position. Caution advised. Structural integrity of the surrounding area is questionable." "When isn't it?" Thalia muttered, carefully picking her way through the debris. The ruins had claimed many lives over the years, but something about this discovery felt different. The energy signature matched nothing in their databases, and the scripts on the walls were unlike any of the dozen alien languages she'd helped decode. She found the entrance to the lower levels partially hidden behind a fallen column. The passage beyond seemed to absorb her suit's lights, the darkness almost alive. ECHO's interface flickered uncertainly. "Dr. Blackwood, I'm detecting unusual temporal distortions. Perhaps we should wait for the backup team." Thalia shook her head. "The storm will hit before they arrive. We might not get another chance at this." She activated her suit's enhanced structural support and began her descent. The passage spiraled downward, each step taking her further from the surface. The walls here were different, smooth, almost organic in their construction. They pulsed with faint lines of light that responded to her presence, creating patterns that her mind struggled to comprehend. At the bottom, she found herself in a chamber that defied explanation. The ceiling arched impossibly high, supported by columns that seemed to be made of pure energy. But it was the object at the center that drew her attention, a floating crystalline structure that rotated slowly in midair, each facet containing what looked like a different moment in time. "ECHO, are you recording this?" "Affirmative, though the temporal distortions are affecting my sensors. I suggest extreme caution." Thalia approached the crystal, her scientific mind racing with possibilities. The energy readings were off the scale, suggesting power sources far beyond current human technology. As she got closer, she could see images within the crystal's faces, stars being born, civilizations rising and falling, and something else, something watching. Her hand reached out almost involuntarily, drawn to the crystal's surface. The moment her fingers made contact, the chamber erupted with light. Knowledge flooded her mind, not just information, but understanding. She saw them, the builders of this place, the precursors. She saw why they had vanished, what they had been running from. "No," she whispered, trying to pull away, but it was too late. The crystal had synchronized with her neural patterns, downloading its message directly into her consciousness. They had left these ruins as a warning, a message to any civilization that might follow. But they had also left something else, a key to fighting what was coming. The chamber began to shake, the ancient power systems overloading from the activation. Thalia stumbled back, her mind reeling from the download. EKO's voice became urgent. "Dr. Blackwood, the structure is becoming unstable. We need to evacuate immediately." She ran, her legs carrying her back up the spiral passage as the ruins came alive around her. The scripts on the walls now burned with meaning. She could read them, understand their desperate warnings. The knowledge was overwhelming, threatening to tear her mind apart. She burst from the ruins just as the first tremors reached the surface. Behind her, the ancient city began to sink, returning to its millennia-long slumber. But it had served its purpose. The message had been delivered. Thalia collapsed onto the violet sand, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The knowledge within her mind began to settle, organizing itself into patterns she could comprehend. She understood now why the precursors had hidden their message so carefully, why they had waited for someone who could understand. ECHO. She managed between breaths. Contact the Stellar Alliance. Priority 1 channel. The Alliance? Dr. Blackwood, what did you see down there? Thalia looked up at the dying sun, seeing it now with new understanding. The precursors hadn't just vanished. They had been running. And what they had been running from was about to return. Something's coming, ECHO. Something that's been sleeping for millions of years. And we're not ready. As if in response, the ruins behind her gave one final shudder before falling silent. The warning had been delivered. Now the real work would begin. Humanity needed to prepare, and Thalia knew she couldn't do it alone. She needed help. Specifically, she needed someone who operated outside the Alliance's rigid structure, someone who could help her navigate the shadows where this truth needed to be shared. She pulled up her communications display, scrolling through old contacts until she found the one she needed. Roran Vale, smuggler, pilot, and the only person she knew crazy enough to help her stop the end of civilization. The radiation storm approached on the horizon, its purple lightning illuminating the ruins like a funeral pyre. Thalia smiled grimly. The precursors had waited millions of years to share their warning. Now she had mere months to prepare humanity for what was coming. ECHO, send the message. Remember that favor you owe me. Time to pay up. The universe is about to change. Whispers in the void. Port Helios was exactly the kind of place where someone like Roran Vale would hide. The space station hung in the shadow of a gas giant, its neon signs and holographic advertisements creating a perpetual twilight in the crowded corridors. Thalia pulled her hood lower, conscious of the Alliance surveillance drones that drifted overhead. ECHO's presence hummed softly in her neural implant. 3 Alliance peacekeepers have entered the sector. Facial recognition systems active. Can you scramble them? Thalia muttered, weaving through the crowd. Temporarily. But they're getting better at detecting my interference. The knowledge from the precursor crystal pulsed in her mind, a constant reminder of what was at stake. It had been 2 weeks since her discovery in the ruins, and already she'd noticed changes. Her dreams were filled with visions of ancient stars and civilizations that had faced the coming threat. Some had fought. Some had hidden. All had fallen. The last port tavern squatted between a cybernetics shop and a questionable medical clinic. Inside, the air was thick with smoke from a dozen alien tobacco variants. Thalia's enhanced vision, another gift from the crystal, cut through the haze to find her target. Roran Vale sat alone at a corner table, his scared face partially hidden behind a holographic newsfeed. He looked exactly as she remembered, dangerous, alert, and perpetually amused by a joke only he understood. "You're getting sloppy," Thalia said, sliding into the seat across from him. 3 different bounty hunters tracked you to this station in the past week. 4, Roran corrected, not looking up from his newsfeed. The 4th one's sitting at the bar, trying to decide if the bounty on my head is worth dying for. He finally met her gaze, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused. "You look terrible." That tends to happen when you download millions of years of alien knowledge into your brain. His organic eye narrowed. "So the message you sent wasn't just another one of your archaeological fantasies. The precursors left a warning, Roran. Something's coming. Something that hunts civilizations. And we have maybe 6 months before it reaches Alliance space. And you came to me because the Alliance won't believe me without proof. Because by the time they do believe me, it'll be too late. And because you're the only person I know with both the skills and the complete lack of self-preservation instincts to help me stop it. Roran leaned back, taking a long drink from his glass. You know, I gave up the hero business. Getting shot at by Alliance patrols is one thing. Taking on some ancient cosmic horror, that's a bit outside my comfort zone. Since when did you have a comfort zone? Philia pulled out a data crystal, sliding it across the table. Besides, I brought a peace offering. Coordinates to a precursor weapons cache. The kind of technology that makes Alliance warships look like children's toys. His cybernetic eye flashed as it scanned the crystal. This is genuine. The precursors didn't just leave warnings. They left tools, scattered across the galaxy. We just need to find them before. The tavern's entrance exploded inward. Alliance peacekeepers poured through the smoke, their weapons charged. The bounty hunter at the bar made his move, drawing a concealed pistol. Roran moved faster than humanly possible, his augmented reflexes throwing the table up as a shield. Please tell me you have a plan B. Philia grabbed his arm, her enhanced vision highlighting an escape route through the kitchen. When do I not? They ran as chaos erupted behind them. Ichiho's voice guided them through the station's maintenance tunnels, staying one step ahead of the pursuit. Roran's ship, the Stellar Ghost, waited in a private dock, its engines already warming. You planned this, Roran accused, as they sprinted up the boarding ramp. You knew they'd track you here. I needed to make sure you'd come with me. Philia strapped into the co-pilot's seat as alarms blared throughout the station. Besides, your life was getting boring. I liked boring. But he was grinning as his hands flew over the controls. The Stellar Ghost broke free of its moorings, accelerating hard enough to strain its artificial gravity. Alliance cruisers moved to intercept, their weapons charging. But Roran hadn't earned his reputation for nothing. The ship danced between their targeting locks, each near miss calculated to perfection. So, he said as they prepared to jump to hyperspace, want to tell me what exactly we're looking for? Philia closed her eyes, letting the precursor knowledge flow through her mind. They called it the Nexus Key. It's not just a weapon. It's a way to communicate with their automated defense network. If we can find it, we might have a chance against what's coming. And if we can't, then humanity joins the long list of civilizations that discovered they weren't alone in the universe in the worst possible way. The stars stretched into lines as they jumped to hyperspace. Philia felt the weight of the crystal's knowledge pressing against her consciousness. The precursors had faced the same choice: run and hide, or stand and fight. They had chosen to run, but not before leaving behind the tools for another civilization to succeed where they had failed. You know, Roran said, setting course for coordinates only he seemed to know. Most people bring flowers or expensive drinks when they ask for help. You bring ancient alien apocalypses and Alliance pursuit ships. Would you have helped me if I'd brought flowers? Probably not. He checked their pursuit vectors, satisfied they'd lost any tails. So, where do we start? Philia pulled up a star chart, overlaying it with information from her enhanced memory. There's a facility in the Outer Rim. The Alliance thinks it's abandoned, but the precursor data suggests otherwise. If the Nexus Key exists, that's where we'll find the first clue to its location. The Outer Rim. Roran shook his head. You really don't do anything halfway, do you? Not when the fate of humanity is at stake. She studied his profile, noting the way his cybernetic eye continued scanning their surroundings. Last chance to back out. And missed the chance to save the universe. Not likely. He programmed the coordinates into the nav computer. Besides, someone has to keep you from getting yourself killed before you can warn everyone about the impending doom. The Stellar Ghost carried them deeper into space, leaving behind the relative safety of Alliance territory. Somewhere out there, an ancient horror was stirring. But for the first time since discovering the crystal, Philia felt hope. They had a chance. Small, desperate, but real. Ichiho, she said softly, begin decryption of the facility's coordinates. It's time to see what else the precursors left behind. The price of knowledge. The outer rim facility hung in the void like a dead star, its dark surface absorbing what little light reached this far from civilization. Thalia studied it through the stellar ghost's view screen, the precursor knowledge in her mind recognizing patterns in its construction that human eyes would miss. "You're sure this place is abandoned?" Roran asked, his ship maintaining a safe distance. "Officially, yes." Ikicho projected a holographic overlay of the facility's structure. "However, I'm detecting power signatures inconsistent with a derelict station. Someone's home." Thalia felt a familiar pressure behind her eyes as the crystal's knowledge surfaced. The precursors used this facility for containment. Whatever's in there, they wanted to keep it isolated. "Wonderful." Roran's cybernetic eye whirred as it analyzed the station. "And we're going in there because the facility's databanks contain coordinates to the next piece of the puzzle. We need those coordinates to find the Nexus key." Their approach was silent, the stellar ghost's stealth systems masking their presence. As they drew closer, details emerged from the darkness. Massive hull breaches sealed with unknown technology, sections that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. The docking procedure was automated, the station's systems recognizing codes embedded in Thalia's enhanced consciousness. Inside, the air was stale but breathable. Their footsteps echoed through corridors that hadn't seen human presence in decades. "Movement ahead," Ikicho warned. 3 signatures, approaching rapidly. They ducked into a recessed doorway as figures passed their position. Scientists in environmental suits, their faces hidden behind polarized visors. Each carried equipment that made Thalia's enhanced senses tingle with recognition. "They're using precursor tech," she whispered. "But it's wrong. Modified. Someone's been busy out here." Roran checked his weapons. "Any other surprises I should know about?" Before she could answer, a new voice spoke from the shadows. "You could say that." Dr. Nix Voss stepped into view, her white hair stark against her dark skin. She held no weapon, but the air around her crackled with contained energy. "I wondered when someone would finally notice our little operation. Though I must admit, I didn't expect it to be you, Dr. Blackwood. You know me. Your work on precursor linguistics is quite impressive. It helped us make several breakthroughs." Nix gestured at their surroundings. "Welcome to Project Ascension. We're doing what the Alliance won't, preparing humanity for what's coming." The crystal's knowledge surged in Thalia's mind, recognizing patterns in the facility's modified technology. "You're experimenting with precursor tech, trying to replicate their evolutionary leap." "The precursors didn't just advance technologically," Nix explained, her eyes bright with zealous enthusiasm. "They transformed themselves, becoming something greater. We've spent years studying their methods, and now we're close to a breakthrough." "You don't understand what you're dealing with," Thalia warned. "The precursor's transformation wasn't voluntary. It was desperate. A last resort. Perhaps, but their desperation gave them power beyond imagination. Power we'll need when the Harbinger arrives." Thalia froze. "You know about the Harbinger. We detected its approach years ago. The Alliance ignored our warnings, so we took matters into our own hands." Nix spread her arms, and the corridor's shadows seemed to move with her. "We've already begun the process. Would you like to see?" It was a trap. Thalia knew it was a trap, but the crystal's knowledge pulled her forward, demanding to understand what these humans had done with precursor technology. The laboratory beyond the corridor defied physics. Enormous chambers filled with swirling energy, test subjects floating in fields of pure possibility. But something was wrong. The transformations were unstable, the subjects' forms shifting between states of matter. "Your process is flawed," Thalia realized. "You're forcing an evolution that should take millennia. A necessary sacrifice." Nix approached one of the containment fields, her expression almost maternal. "Yes, we lose many subjects, but those who survive, they become something extraordinary." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the facility. Emergency containment protocols activated as one of the subjects began to destabilize, their form collapsing in on itself. "We need to leave." Roran grabbed Thalia's arm. "Now." But Nyx stood her ground, watching the chaos with clinical interest. "Stay. Help us perfect the process. With your connection to precursor knowledge, we could stabilize the transformation." The offer was tempting. The crystal's knowledge recognized the potential in Nyx's work, flawed but brilliant. With proper guidance, they might achieve what the precursors had failed to do. "The coordinates," Thalia said instead. "Where are they?" Nyx's expression hardened. "So be it." She pressed a command into her wrist computer. Throughout the facility, containment fields began to fail. "If you won't help us evolve, perhaps you'd like to see evolution in action." They ran as chaos erupted behind them. Half-transformed subjects, neither human nor energy, pursued them through the corridors. Roran's weapons passed harmlessly through their shifting forms. "Ishisho," Thalia called as they sprinted toward the ship. "Download everything you can from their systems." "Downloading. But Dr. Blackwood, you need to see this. The facility's data contains references to multiple sites like this one. Project Ascension isn't isolated. It's a network." They'd reached the stellar ghost just as the facility's structure began to buckle. The transformed subjects were losing cohesion, their unstable forms affecting the very fabric of reality around them. As they pulled away from the dying station, Thalia watched Nyx's work collapse in on itself. The scientist had been right about one thing. Humanity needed to evolve to face what was coming. But there would be no shortcuts, no forced advancement. "Did you get the coordinates?" Roran asked once they were safely in hyperspace. "Yes." Thalia sorted through the downloaded data, her enhanced mind processing the information. "But we found something else too. Project Ascension has facilities throughout the Outer Rim. They're building an army of unstable energy beings." "Great. Not just an army." Thalia brought up a star chart, highlighting dozens of secret installations. "They're trying to transform humanity itself, and they're not the only ones preparing for the Harbinger's arrival." The coordinates they'd stolen pointed to something hidden in the galactic core, something the precursors had called the Genesis Chamber. But reaching it would mean navigating between two forces, the approaching Harbinger, and humans like Nyx who would sacrifice everything in their desperate bid for survival. "You know," Roran said, setting course for their next destination, "when this is over, I'm retiring to a nice, quiet moon where nothing ever happens." Thalia smiled despite the weight of their discovery. "No, you won't." "No," he agreed, his cybernetic eye gleaming. "I won't." Breaking the chains. The Genesis Chamber's coordinates led them to the last place anyone would willingly go, the galactic core, where ancient stars died violent deaths and newborn black holes devoured everything in their path. The stellar ghost's sensors struggled to make sense of the chaos surrounding them. "This is suicide," Roran muttered, his cybernetic eye rapidly adjusting to the intense radiation. "Even with the shift shields at maximum, we won't last an hour in there. We need help." Thalia studied the swirling maelstrom of the core through the view screen. "Someone who knows how to navigate this kind of chaos." "I know someone," Roran said reluctantly, "but you're not going to like it." That's how they found themselves docking at Haven's Edge, a mobile space station that survived by staying one step ahead of both Alliance patrols and Project Ascension's reach. The station was a patchwork of salvaged ships and habitation modules, held together by determination and improvised engineering. Lysandra Kai met them in an observation dome that offered a panoramic view of the surrounding nebula. Her dark skin was marked with bioluminescent tattoos, a sign of her time spent in the deep void where standard navigation was impossible. She carried herself like someone used to fighting against impossible odds. "The infamous Roran Vale," she said, her voice carrying traces of an accent from Earth's long-lost colonies. "Last time I saw you, you were stealing my best ship." "Borrowing," Roran corrected, "and I brought it back. Mostly intact." "You brought back the pieces." Lysandra turned her attention to Thalia. And Dr. Blackwood, your recent discoveries have caused quite a stir. The Alliance has doubled the bounty on your head. Only doubled. Thalia managed a smile. I'm disappointed. They're also saying you've gone mad. Something about ancient aliens and the end of civilization. The crystal's knowledge pulsed in Thalia's mind, urging her to explain. But before she could, alarms blared throughout the station. Through the dome's transparent panels, they watched as reality itself seemed to tear open. Project Ascension had found them. 3 ships emerged from the rift, their hulls modified with the same twisted precursor technology they'd seen at the facility. But it was what followed them that made Thalia's enhanced senses scream in warning. Transformed humans, their bodies now pure energy, moving through space without ships. They've stabilized the process, Thalia whispered in horror. They're creating their own versions of what the precursors became. Lysandra's tattoos pulsed with increased intensity. Everyone to battle stations. This is not a drill. Haven's Edge's defenders responded with practiced efficiency, but their conventional weapons passed harmlessly through the energy beings. The transformed humans phased through the station's hull, their presence causing systems to fail and reality to warp around them. The hangar, Roran shouted over the chaos. We need to get to the ship. Wait. Lysandra grabbed his arm. You know what they want. Tell me what's really going on. Thalia made a decision. She reached out, establishing a neural link through her enhanced consciousness. In seconds, she shared everything. The precursor's warning, the approaching harbinger, the Genesis chamber, and Project Ascension's desperate attempts to force humanity's evolution. Lysandra staggered under the weight of the knowledge. By the void, she whispered. They're going to get us all killed. Not if we reach the chamber first. Thalia broke the link. But we need your help. Your people know how to navigate the core's chaos. Another explosion rocked the station. Through the dome, they watched as one of Haven's Edge's defensive platforms transformed, its material structure twisting into pure energy under the influence of Project Ascension's weapons. Lysandra's expression hardened. My navigation data, my pilots, everything you need. It's yours. But you have to promise me something. Name it. When this is over, when you find what you're looking for, burn Project Ascension to the ground. What they're doing isn't evolution, it's extinction. They fought their way to the hangar bay, Lysandra's people providing cover with experimental weapons that could actually affect the energy beings. The stellar ghost had been modified in their absence, its hull now bearing the same bioluminescent markings as Lysandra's tattoos. Void sight technology, she explained as they boarded. It'll help you see the safe paths through the core. But it's not perfect. One wrong move in there. We understand. Thalia took her place at the navigation console, her enhanced senses already integrating with the new technology. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Lysandra handed them a data crystal. These are the routes my people have mapped. But be careful. The core changes constantly. What's safe one moment could be deadly the next. As they prepared to launch, Project Ascension's forces breached the hangar's defenses. But Lysandra was ready. Give us time, she ordered her people. Whatever it takes. The stellar ghost launched into chaos as Haven's Edge's defenders engaged the transformed humans. Through the view screen, they watched energy beings clash with void-adapted warriors in a battle that bent the laws of physics. Your friend is either incredibly brave or completely insane, Roran said as they accelerated away from the battle. Speaking from experience, Thalia replied, probably both. They plunged into the galactic core, following paths only visible through their modified sensors. Behind them, Project Ascension's ships gave pursuit, but Lysandra's void sight technology gave them an advantage. Where their hunters saw only chaos, they saw patterns, dangerous, ever-changing, but navigable. Multiple gravitational anomalies ahead, ECGO warned. The core's radiation is affecting my sensors. Trust the void sight, Thalia said, letting the crystal's knowledge guide her hands across the controls. The precursors mapped these routes. We just need to remember how to read them. They wove through the death throes of ancient stars, skirting the edges of newborn black holes. The pursuing ships fell behind one by one, unable to match their navigation. But the transformed humans continued their pursuit, unaffected by the core's deadly radiation. "We can't keep this up forever," Roran warned as another gravitational wave rocked the ship. "Even with the void sight, we're pushing our luck. We don't need forever." Thelia's enhanced vision caught something through the chaos, a structure that shouldn't exist this close to the core. "We just need to reach that." The Genesis chamber waited ahead, its impossible architecture defying the core's destructive forces. But reaching it would mean navigating the deadliest section of their route, a maze of collapsing stars and temporal distortions that even the precursors had feared to traverse. Lysandra said these routes aren't perfect, Roran reminded her. "One wrong move. Then we don't move wrong." Thelia activated the ship's full void sight array, surrounding them in a sphere of bioluminescent guidance. "Besides, we're out of options. Project Ascension won't stop. The Harbinger is coming, and the only answers we need are waiting in that chamber." They plunged deeper into the core's chaos, racing against time, physics, and the transformed humans who pursued them with single-minded determination. The Genesis chamber grew larger in their view, its structure promising either salvation or destruction. Thelia felt the crystal's knowledge pulse stronger as they approached. Whatever waited inside that chamber, it was the key to everything. Humanity's evolution, the Harbinger's purpose, and the true legacy of the precursors who had sacrificed so much to prepare for this moment. Dawn of redemption. The Genesis chamber defied comprehension. Its interior shifted between states of matter, its walls displaying the history of countless civilizations that had faced the Harbinger. Thelia, Roran, and their pursuers from Project Ascension all stopped in awe as they entered the vast central chamber. "It's beautiful," Dr. Nixvoss whispered, her transformed energy form casting prismatic light across the ancient surfaces. She and her enhanced soldiers had caught up just as they'd breached the chamber's outer defenses. "All this time, we were right. The precursors did find a way." The crystal's knowledge surged in Thelia's mind, finally understanding the chamber's true purpose. "No," she said softly, "you weren't right. None of us were." The chamber's center held what appeared to be a throne, but Thelia's enhanced vision revealed its true nature, a neural interface designed to connect with the sum total of precursor knowledge, not just their technology or their history, but their understanding of existence itself. "This is what they left for us," Thelia continued. "Not weapons, not transformation technology. Knowledge. The truth about the Harbinger. The truth." Nyx's form flickered with anger. "The truth is that it's coming to destroy us, just as it destroyed them. Unless we evolve, unless we transform, unless we repeat their mistakes." Thelia challenged. "Look around you. Really look." The chamber's walls came alive, responding to her enhanced consciousness. They showed the precursors' final days, not as victims fleeing destruction, but as beings who had recognized their own terrible error. "The Harbinger isn't a destroyer," Thelia explained as the images played out. "It's a consequence. Every civilization that reached this level of development faced the same choice: continue along the path of natural evolution, or force their own transcendence. The precursors chose transcendence," Roran realized, "like Project Ascension is trying to do now. Yes, they forced their evolution, transformed themselves into beings of pure energy. But they didn't understand the cost. The Harbinger isn't hunting civilizations. It's the universe's immune response to artificial evolution." Nyx's form stabilized as the truth sank in. "No, we perfected the process. We succeeded where they failed." "Did you?" Thelia gestured at Nyx's energy form. "How many died in your experiments? How many more will die as the transformation spread?" The precursors learned too late that forced evolution doesn't just change individuals. It damages the fabric of reality itself. The Harbinger comes to prevent that damage from spreading. The chamber trembled as something massive approached, not through space, but through reality itself. The Harbinger had arrived. "It's too late," Nyx whispered. "We've already begun the transformation. Humanity will be destroyed." "No." Thalia approached the neural interface. "The precursors left us a choice. They spent their final days creating this chamber, this legacy, to give future civilizations what they never had, the chance to choose differently." "Thalia," Roran warned, his cybernetic eye tracking the Harbinger's approach. "Whatever you're going to do it fast." She sat in the interface throne, feeling the crystal's knowledge align with the chamber systems. The precursors discovered that evolution can't be forced, but it can be guided. They left us the tools not to fight the Harbinger, but to prove to it that we understand, that we choose a different path. Through the chamber's walls, they watched the Harbinger emerge. It had no fixed form, existing as a convergence of natural laws, a manifestation of the universe's self-correcting mechanisms. Its presence caused Nyx and her transformed soldiers to flicker painfully. "What are you doing?" Nyx demanded as energy began to flow from the chamber into Thalia. "Showing it our choice." Thalia's consciousness expanded, connecting with the chamber's vast network. The precursors left instructions for natural acceleration, not forcing evolution, but creating the conditions for it to progress as it should. Guided, not forced. Natural, not artificial. The chamber filled with light as ancient machinery activated. The Harbinger's presence surrounded them, testing, judging. Thalia opened her mind completely, sharing humanity's potential, their capacity for growth, for change, for choosing wisdom over power. "Help me," she called to Nyx. "Show it that we understand, that we can choose differently." For a moment, Nyx hesitated. Then her energy form approached the interface, adding her understanding to Thalia's plea. One by one, her transformed soldiers followed. The Harbinger's presence shifted from judgment to something else, acceptance. Through the neural interface, Thalia felt its message. Humanity would be given time, given a chance to evolve naturally, guided by the precursor's wisdom, but not twisted by their mistakes. The transformed humans began to change again, but not in the violent way Project Ascension had forced. The Harbinger's influence, combined with the chamber's technology, began reversing the artificial evolution, restoring their natural forms while preserving the understanding they had gained. "I was wrong," Nyx said as her human form returned. "We were all wrong. Evolution without wisdom is just another form of destruction." Thalia finished. She turned to Roran, who watched the transformation with his usual mix of skepticism and amusement. "Ready to help guide humanity down a different path?" "You mean, am I ready to help you explain to the Alliance that we need to slow down and let evolution take its natural course?" He grinned. "Sounds impossible. I'm in." The Genesis chamber began to reconfigure itself, transforming into something new, a seed of knowledge that could be shared with humanity, teaching them the patience and wisdom the precursors had learned too late. The Harbinger's presence faded, leaving them with a promise. It would return, not as a destroyer, but as a witness to humanity's choice. "You know," Roran said as they prepared to leave the chamber, "when you first showed up at that bar, I thought you were crazy. Now I know you are. Crazy enough to save humanity from itself. Crazy enough to believe we can learn from the past." He helped her from the interface throne. "So, what's next?" Thalia looked at the chamber's transformed interior, now ready to serve as humanity's guide toward natural evolution. "Now we do the hard part. We learn patience." Nyx approached, her expression haunted but determined. "The other facilities, the other experiments. They need to know. They need to understand what we discovered here." "Then let's tell them," Thalia said. "All of them. It's time humanity learned there are some shortcuts we shouldn't take, some powers we need to grow into naturally." They left the Genesis chamber as a new dawn approached, not just for them, but for all of humanity. The Harbinger would return one day, not to judge, but to witness whether humanity had truly learned to walk the path of natural evolution, guided by wisdom rather than driven by fear. The crystal's knowledge settled in Thalia's mind, no longer an overwhelming force but a gentle guide. The precursors had left them more than warnings or weapons. They had left them hope, and the wisdom to use it properly. As the stellar ghost carried them home, Thalia watched the galactic core's chaos through new eyes. Evolution, she had learned, wasn't about becoming more powerful. It was about becoming more wise. And wisdom, like all truly valuable things, couldn't be rushed. It had to be earned, one choice at a time.